So to continue our discussion on Havdala, as the famous line of Chaim Volozhin used to say, we'll come back to his famous line another time. But so we discussed last time regarding the mitzvah of Havdala, whether the mitzvah Havdala is a biblical mitzvah or a rabbinical mitzvah. And even if it's a biblical mitzvah, the two different sources what it could be. According to the Rambam's opinion is it's the same source as Kiddush. Zochar shel Shabbos l'kadsho. Remember the Shabbos day and sanctify it. And the Rambam learns it's a special mitzvah to remember it in its entrance and exit. So according to the Rambam, it's linked to Kiddush. According to other Rishonim, actually they quote a pasuk from last week's parsha, in Parasha Shmini, Lahavdil ben HaKodesh v'Acho, in order to make a distinction between holy and mundane. So my nafkamina, what's the practical difference if I say the source of Havdalah is from the pasuk in Parasha Shmini, or it's from Zohar? So one very practical issue: are a woman obligated in the mitzvah of Havdalah? Because why Havdalah at first glance is a mitzvah saseh shahazman grama. You only can make it after Shabbos or after Yontif, but it's limited to a set time and place. So it seems to be a time-oriented mitzvah. And general rule, women are exempt. So according to the Rambam, who learns Kiddush and Havdalah is the same source, so one could ask the same question: are women obligated in the mitzvah of Kiddush? Because in fact, this is the Gemara's question. It's a mitzvah saseh shazman grama, so women should be exempt. The Gemara answers no. Women are obligated based on a limud. It says Zachar in the first of the 10 Commandments by Shabbos, and then it says Shamar. So the Gemara makes a bracha called Sheyeshnu b'shmira. Whoever is included in keeping the negative commandments, one who's not allowed to violate the negative commandments, they're also obligated in the positive commandments. So, and therefore they include women. So if the source of Havdalah comes from Kiddush, and that's the Rambam's opinion, not only are women obligated in Havdalah, they are biblically obligated in Havdalah. According to the other opinion, even if it's biblical, it doesn't mean they're obligated. It could be a mitzvah saseh shazman grama. So that's a shaila in the Rishonim, in the Achronim, whether a woman is obligated. It seems to be a sveika dedina. It seems to be a dispute. So, and therefore the Ramah writes something interesting. He doesn't write it anywhere else in Shulchan Aruch. The Ramah writes, because what do I mean by that? There's a general dispute between the Rambam and the Bali Tosas, which is a dispute between the Sfardim and Ashkenaz, which is a dispute between the Ramah and the Mechaber, on whether women can make blessings on mitzvah saseh shazman grama. Whether, according to everybody, they could volunteer it, but the opinion of the Sfardim is no bracha because they can't say v'tzivanu. They're not commanded. And we all know v'tzivanu is on the generic klal Yisrael, not on a specific individual. And not only can women volunteer mitzvahs, they volunteer bracha. So it's interesting, the Ramah, who, let's say, when it comes to a woman doing the mitzvah of sitting in the sukkah, a mitzvah, a woman shaking daled minim, he says make a bracha, even though it's a mitzvah saseh shazman. So yet it's very strange to look at the Ramah in Hilchas Havdalah. He writes, women should not make their own Havdalah, but they should listen to a man's Havdalah. And all the commentators jump on the Ramah. Why not? Because even if you assume not like the Rambam. If you assume like the Rambam, there's nothing to talk about. They have to make Havdalah. Certainly they have to make a bracha. But even if you want to assume like the opinion to say women are exempt, but the Ramah's general rule is even if you're exempt, you could do it.
You're allowed.
It's not only allowed, in general rule, let's say barring some special mitzvahs, let's say talis, tefillin, which are usually associated with men, but the general rule is not only can they, it's praiseworthy to volunteer them. So why is the Ramah seems to be going against his general principle? I agree. Even if I assume women are exempt from Havdalah, good, they're exempt, now volunteer and do it. So that's a major discussion among the two classic commentators on the Shulchan Aruch, the Magen Avram versus the Taz, and what's the pshat in the Ramah? In other words, they're not justifying what the Ramah is saying, they're explaining the Ramah. They're both bothered by why is the Ramah saying this, and they try to give different explanations in the Ramah. So the Magen Avram says as follows: when do we say a woman has an option to volunteer a mitzvah saseh shazman grama and make a bracha? That's only what the Magen Avram says, a mitzvah sheyesh bo maisa, like shaking the lulav, sitting in the sukkah. You're doing a maisa mitzvah, you're doing an action. If you're doing an action, so too, he says you can make a bracha.
But Havdala is an action?
Well, you're saying Havdala is an action or it's not?
It is, right.
Well, it depends. So we like to define, for our purposes, Havdala means Hamavdil, the bracha, Hamavdil ben kol shulchol, the besamim, the fire, those are, they could be external. Yeah, they could be external to Havdala.
Right.
But that's so. Therefore, for our purposes, it's just a dibur. So the Magen Avram says, when do we say woman can volunteer when there's an action involved? But if the whole mitzvah is just in bracha form or in word form, so then women do not do it. Like he says, we find a similar discussion regarding the mitzvah of Kiddush Ravana. We know that certain times of the month we go out if we could find the moon, and we do Kiddush Ravana. So again, it's a mitzvah saseh shazman grama. So the Magen Avram writes, women should, even though the minig is in general that women volunteer mitzvah saseh shazman grama, the Magen Avram writes, the custom is not to do Kiddush Ravana, and it's the same reason as Havdalah. That any time there's a mitzvah, what are you looking for?
My bag.
Anytime there is a mitzvah which is just in bracha form or just in dibur form and there's no maisa, that's the Magen Avram's opinion, we don't make a bracha. So that's how he explains the Ramah. Since Havdalah is merely words alone, therefore if the whole mitzvah is just in words alone, in dibur, so that the minig was women do not make a bracha. That's the Magen Avram's opinion explaining the Ramah, why a woman should not make her own Havdalah. And the Taz has a totally different route. The Taz says no, that's not the reason. The reason is as follows. He says, all the examples the Gemara gives of women volunteering and doing a mitzvah saseh shazman grama, that's the lulav, esrog, the 4 species, sukkah, shofar, these are all mitzvahs min haTorah. These are all biblical commandments. So on a biblical commandment, that's when the Taz says Chazal instituted a bracha on a mitzvah saseh shazman grama. However, if we're dealing with a mitzvah midrabanan, if we're dealing with a rabbinical mitzvah, so to speak, to borrow a phrase we use in the Talmud in other areas, it's a tarte l'reusa. Tarte means two, l'reusa, ra, negative. It's a double negative. In this case, it's not a positive. No geometry today. It's a double negative. So therefore, the Taz says anytime it's a zman grama plus d'Rabbanan, we don't make a bracha. So number one, we see a couple of things from the Taz. The principle, but what do we see? The Taz's opinion regarding Havdalah, he thinks Havdalah is only rabbinical today. And based on the Taz, it would come out as well that a woman would not have to make Kiddush Shabbos morning. In fact, maybe she even shouldn't. At least she should hear Kiddush from a man, because Kiddush Shabbos morning is only a D'Rabbanan, and it's Zman Grama. So based on the Taz, a woman, there's a whole discussion anyway whether a woman is even obligated in that Kiddush Shabbos morning, but based on the Taz, it would come out that she shouldn't. And it seems to be telling me a rule: if it's a D'Rabbanan and a Zman Grama, women do not make bracha. So that's what the Ramah is getting at. According to the Ramah writes against his general rule of women volunteering and making brachas on Zman Grama. He singles out Havdalah, women should not. The Magen Avram says because since it's only a mitzvah that involves Amira, like Kiddush Gavana, the custom is for a woman not to. And the Taz has nothing to do with Amira versus Maisa, it has to do with the Raisa versus D'Rabbanan. Any D'Rabbanan and its Mangrama, women do not volunteer with the bracha. Halacha l'maisa, after all said and done, let's say a woman is stuck, she's home alone, her husband's out of town. So the bottom line is, so then since really, according to the Rambam and others, a woman is actually chayev. So push comes to shove, the men in the post can say a woman should make her own Havdala. But in a situation where you could hear from a man, it's recommended to avoid the issue. But push comes to shove, you're stuck at home and there's no one else to make Havdala. I would tell a woman to make her own Havdala.
Thank you.